Calling to order. Welcome to the Wednesday, March 26, 2014 meeting of the Finance Committee, Wareham Finance Committee. Since I don't have a clerk, anybody want to do the roll? How about Mrs. Donahue? Do you want to do the roll?
And we'll call the roll. President Tarr, Jeff Tufts, Joan Fonts, David Hurd, Tom Worthen, Marilyn Donahue, and Larry McDonald.
Okay, the next part of our meeting, two parts of our meeting, will go by in about 7 seconds. First off, are there any citizens here for participation? That was a big no. Now I need a motion to open the public hearing on the 2014 annual town meeting warrant and 2014 special town meeting warrant.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Well, that's 6-0-0. Anyone here to address the board for the public hearing on the 2004 annual town meeting? I need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, another town meeting public hearing has gone by the wayside. Business for the Finance Committee is we're still recruiting members of the Finance Committee. We don't seem to be getting any applications. If you're interested in the Finance Committee, it's a very rewarding experience and you learn a great deal about the town. There is a time commitment and it's not always the easiest time commitment, but it is worthwhile. And again, when you're thinking about the issues in town, you get a better understanding of how municipal government works as well as municipal finance. So if you're interested, you can pick up an application at the Selectman's office or through the town website, or you can drop an email to fincom, F-I-N-C-O-M, at wareham.ma.us. Thank you. Do you want to take this out of order since the director of the housing, is it public housing? Or all right, the director is here. Do you want to take that out of order? Is it okay with the committee if we do that first?
It's the directress.
Directress, okay. What article are we talking about? Mr. Worthen, what article are we talking about?
It's the community preservation.
All right, let us get that together. If you'll introduce yourself for all the committee members who don't know you.
Hi, my name is Jackie Hickey, and I am the Wareham Housing Authority Administrator. We are seeking funding for two articles. I don't know what number they are and placed in the book, but one is the asbestos remediation on 57 Sandwich Road, Agawam Village, and the other is Building 1 replacement of underground plumbing.
Okay. Who's got the article in front of them?
Those are 22 and 23.
Could somebody read, let's go one at a time. First read the first article, and then we'll discuss it.
22, CPC article.
To see if the town will vote to appropriate from Community Preservation Affordable Housing Reserve Fund or any other monies available in the Community Preservation Fund the sum of $35,000 to provide safe flooring to the elderly and handicapped residents of Agawam Village, or to take any action relative thereto.
Okay, now you can talk about the article. You're up.
The article for asbestos remediation is to remove, the act says, let me just begin with that. It says, in general, work that protects the housing structure from the future injury, harm, or destruction. I just, looking at asbestos, the building itself, the asbestos, I believe that it would be healthier and safe for the buildings to have better flooring. We cannot remove that flooring without going through remediation, and the way the structures were built, it would be very not cost-effective to replace and just put down flooring, although we are seeking that option as well. And it's in the Agawam Village. The flooring is 50 years old. It's never been replaced since its inception. That's basically the long and short of that. Mr. Worthen did come over and take a look at it. The units are not very big. They're open studio-style units, and we have 40 of them. And the combination in Building 2, because of the underfloor plumbing issue, it's creating a real hazard in those buildings for the flooring, and they need to be replaced. And it's the remediation of it that needs to take place. So we were just looking for funding, and we are currently seeking from DHCD a ruling on these two articles, and from the CPC lawyers to see if that they are acceptable articles. But I don't have that with me tonight.
Mr. Worthing, do you want to tell us a little bit about your tour and what you learned?
What I learned was that the flooring is perfectly adequate. I'm assuming it was asbestos because it was done 50 years ago. But it is certainly a maintenance item if they want to replace the floor, or an appearance item. Asbestos is not free blowing around the place. It's entrapped within the tiles themselves, so it doesn't represent a hazard. I just don't think it fits the criteria for what would satisfy the use of CPA funds. But
I do have one comment to say to that. The unit, they're not all, they are cracked, the asbestos is in the glue. So the opening does provide some measure of airborne. And it is elderly. It's not the same thing as having children, younger children still in developmental ages, because this is just elderly and handicapped and veterans housing. But if it becomes, we are looking for the ruling, and if they say it's okay, then those are the experts, and I'm going to run with that. And I disagree, because I do believe that it does create an issue in the buildings. You know, they're not all intact. They are cracked and exposed, and
Well, I went into, I don't know what unit. I went
53,
into
53. yeah.
53, and
Yeah.
then we went and saw the community area. I
Yep.
mean,
The community
and
area is in
they
much
were-
better shape than the rest
They
of the
were,
units.
they were not, there were none cracked there. And then I
Right.
went under, was it in Unit 2?
Building 4. No, Building 4.
Unit 4?
Yeah.
Building 4? And there was, to look at the piping, and there's one area, you had mentioned the floors were, because of the pipe and the
Right.
moisture, the floors had not plumb or stayed plumb. There was one evidence of where they had a lolly column under the floor to jack it up, but I didn't see the tile in that area.
Right. Yeah, we
I-
didn't go into any units that
I-
were occupied by people, so.
If it was mine to own or manage, I would have it on my C list of needed repairs.
Just a couple things. The money that you're seeking through CPC is $35,000.
Correct.
What's the total cost of the project?
The projects, hold on 1 second, I did bring a little bucket list here. I did bring a little bit of a bucket list, so everybody understands all of the projects that are going on at 57 Sandwich Road. To date, we have, Building 2 will have new roofing, siding, windows, doors, stoops, underfloor plumbing, and an ADA wheelchair accessible unit, because now, the way the law is, the minute we do this major work on Building 2, it spikes the ADA compliance, and we have to have two wheelchair accessible units in Ag Warm Village itself. So one will be in Building 2. So that building will be completely renovated, and by this summer, this is the summer of 2014. Also, the summer.
How many units in that building?
There are 8 units. In Ag Warm, I'll read you our little synopsis so everybody understands. We're on the same page. In 1958, in March 5th, 1962, we were established by a town meeting vote to put in place the Wareham Housing Authority under Mass General Law, Chapter 121 at the time, Chapter 26. And now it has now been amended to 121B. The land in Ag Warm Village was donated, and it was built in between 1962 and 1964. And Redwood Village, which is on 34 Church Avenue, was built in 1972 to 1974. Agawam Village has a total of 40 units, and Redwood Village has a total of 64 units. Out of those units, there are 6 units that are handicap wheelchair accessible in Redwood, and there will be 2 handicapped wheelchair accessible units in Agawam by the end of this summer of 2014. We have 101 people living in 103 units. We have 2 units that we cannot occupy right now because we will be displacing the people that'll be going into we cannot have, the 2 wheelchair units have to specifically be open and available for wheelchair and handicapped mobility issue people. So the 2 units that there are now, those occupants are not wheelchair or dependent or mobility issued people. So we have to open those 2 units, keep them open for those 2 people. Along with the other, we also have Building 1, the complete roof repair done on that. So that will be, and those 2 projects will be used with state, local housing authority funding. And then we have the Building 1 underground / floor plumbing replacement with CPA funding that we're hoping for also the summer of 2014. Because we'll have most of the procurement, all of the same procurement procedures will be in this place that we will do for Building 2, so we just have to adopt for Building 1. They're the same size buildings in all of the same layouts. In Building 4, we have been allocated money to fix that underfloor plumbing, underground plumbing in addition to this. So we just got the word about 2 weeks ago that we have extra funding for that. Then we are hoping for asbestos remediation in Buildings 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're using both combination CPA funding and also a sustainability funding from the state of Massachusetts. We have also the stoop replacement, which luckily enough, we just received very recently a letter stating that we did get $30,000. We were hoping for a matching fund, but that article unfortunately had been changed after I submitted it, and it sparked the ADA compliance, which that's another CPA decline using CPA funds. So we were matching this 30,000 initiative with 30,000 of CPA funding, but that's okay. We still can move forward on that project with our 30,000 in sustainability funding from the state of Massachusetts. And then in 34 Church Avenue, we have also asked for the 80 Makepeace Foundation, foundation monies, $10,000 to do the hallways and the lighting over in the 8 buildings over in 34 Church Ave. So those are the projects that we hope to accomplish this year. And we do have other there is a revolving funding for local housing authorities that we will be hopefully tapping into in the next 2 to 3 years to finish Agawam Village. As everyone knows as citizens, we know what it looks like when we drive by there. You know, we look at it and we go, oh, you know. But we're moving forward, and every day is a new day, and we are going to, you know, we just want to ask. We want to have the ability to ask town meeting voters if we can have this funding. And all that can happen is a no vote. And I'm willing to go back to the drawing board and write something up next year or next town meeting, whenever there's more availability of funding. And hopefully in the future, although we haven't determined what project the board wants to go in the direction, we will be seeking CDBG funding for Housing Authority, which is another acceptable activity.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, go ahead.
This letter that came down from Liz Hare,
Yeah.
which we'd seen at the original
Right, that was
presentation.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't quite know if you folks had that.
Says that maintenance activities not allowed with CPA funding, and it says the painting and refinishing of walls and floors. And as far as the tile goes, what we're doing is redoing the floors. I have I mean, I think there's good leadership over there. I think they want to get things turned around, but I just don't think it fits the application for these funds.
I noticed, well, we heard that you were doing a bigger project
Yep.
and
Yes.
you explained that. Are any of the other items on there, for instance, you mentioned the total rebuilding of the roof.
Yep.
And is the roof failing at the current time, or is it,
Failing to, I mean, how do I explain it? There's leaks. So if that's, here's my bottom line. If I can live in these units, then anybody can live in these units. I disagree with Mr. Worthen. I don't think anybody should be living with that type of flooring in this day and age. I understand 50 years ago it was great, it worked, and they lasted. They rip them up from everywhere now. So putting that aside,
I
the
understand
roof,
that, but-
to me, the
and-
roof
and
is
that's-
leaking, needs to be repaired,
and I-
absolutely.
And I just want to clarify.
Yep.
That, and I don't think that he's, and I don't mean to speak for him either, but I'm not criticizing what your goals are.
Sure, no.
But what we're trying to make sure is that it's a proper expenditure for this money, and that we continue with a sound policy with this money. We don't want to go down
Right.
in a bad
Yes.
slope.
Yeah, no, I
So-
understand that.
And I don't have a whole lot of history on this, and I don't know where what the maintenance budget, what was the percentage of the maintenance budget over the last few years, or the capital expense? Or are we
Right.
doing a catch-all at this point?
I'm sorry,
Are
are
we-
we
are
doing
we-
a catch-all?
Like, are we saying, geez, we really haven't been doing maintenance over the last few years or capital projects, and now we're gonna do a major overhaul to try to catch up?
Well, let me back up and give you a little bit of the history. In 2010, in the 2010 CDBG grant written from CETA, they allocated $150,000, which was $100,000 of CDBG money and then $50,000 of program income money for the Wareham Housing Authority, along with $50,000 of CPA money to help with the first building that they did the envelope. And I think there was another additional $50,000 expenditure of funds from CPA as well. So they did the door, the envelope of the building. They did one door, the first project. They did some the one door, they redid the stoops. They did the siding and the windows in building one. They ran out of money to do the roof. So, okay, that's the history of our capital projects, say in the last 5 years. And there was some electrical upgrades too. That was done, and some state money as well. Unfortunately, like you said, there is this level of we are catching up. There have been some funding sources that went down the old canal and never to be retrieved again. It's kind of like the CDBG money. We've got to move on our responsibility to make sure we're capturing as much of the state taxpayers' money, because, at the end of the day, if we get it from this pile, or we get it from this pile, or we get it from this pile, it's all taxpayers' money at the end of the day. Because me tapping into our state funds is coming from all of our pockets as well. So, with that said, yes, we are doing a catch-all. And I just find it's critical. At the end of the day, I'm critical about seeing, yes, we didn't take care, Wareham Housing Authority did not take care of its responsibilities. And every one of us in this room know that, including me.
Well, what will change, I guess, after this is done?
We will not, I am eagerly applying for different funding sources, because they like to, the state says, have you gone to your CDBG? Have you gone to your CPA? Have you gone? And that helps them say, and I explain this, Mr. Williams, even if it says no in a town meeting vote, the state understands that, but we asked. Mm-hmm. So that's the worst thing that can happen. We will eventually, whether we take it from this pile or this pile, get our asbestos remediated, or we'll come up a better way to handle the problem.
All right, let's say this project's all done.
Yep.
And everything went swimmingly.
Yep.
Right, you got everything the way you wanted it done, the roof was finished, you had enough money to do all this stuff. What happens in next year's operational budget for the housing authority?
We have a certain amount of money that can be, we use that operational budget for our interiors. We've done 5, we are in the process, we're in the very final stages of redoing 5 of the units in Redwood. We've done 2 of the units over in Agawam. It's just a different type of a unit, and, you know, there's different things in Redwood, and so we will continue to use that money to upgrade electrical appliances, along with, I'm sorry, the NSTAR initiative, and that is helping us. I'm sorry, let me read back, because I didn't put this on my cheat.
We're a little familiar with that, because we're doing some of that.
Yeah, we are, with NSTAR, working on safety and lighting, and we are fully hoping to help. They're looking to see if they can do the interior lighting. So I figured an upgrade of those hallways with the doors and the locks would be a great use of helping that piggyback together.
Some of the departments here that we work with, we are also guilty, if you will, of not having the proper capital budget, or deciding not to spend on capital and do.
No,
other
I
things.
understand. I come from CETA. I worked 5 years in the Community and Economic Development Authority of the town of Wareham.
Well, with the, what are the plans for expansion?
Good
You
question.
You mentioned that the land was donated in 1962, and then
Correct.
And then you built some more in 71, 74.
In another unit, in
Right.
another part of town, 34
But,
Church Avenue.
so what's the plans for, because that's,
Well,
I
here-
look at that as CPA funds to buy that property.
Absolutely. In 2004, CPA did a study for us, the Wareham Housing Authority, to add 16 new units. And hopefully, we will be acting upon that within the next 12 months to see how valid that study still is 10 years later, and can we move on it? And that's a definitely acceptable use of CPA funding. So we desperately need, and I mean desperately need, housing for our low to moderate income people. Here's here's our challenge. As you guys look at the books of the town of Wareham, I feel like we have the same problem that the town of Wareham has. And some of the stuff is easy to handle, and some of it is not going to be quick fix. We have to make some sacrifices. We have to look around and see really where we were wrong in order to go forward and not do that again. And we need to become stable. And I mean not just from what it looks like on the outside, stable on the inside of the Wareham Housing Authority to provide proper processes in everyday life on a day-to-day basis. In order for us to go out and capture funding, there was a gentleman that did come to me. He is a very hardworking, long-term citizen in the town of Wareham, and he said, I'm going to buy 5 acres of land and I want to build affordable housing. It didn't quite go through, but he said, I'm going to still look. So that's one thing that I know this gentleman definitely understands housing issues, and he's a hardworking man and raised a great family in the town of Wareham and has been here his whole life. And I know that there are other opportunities for us to grasp, but much like Wareham, if we don't have our act together, it's like 1 foot on the train and 1 foot on the platform, and the train's going to pull out of that station. And I'm going to get this stable so we can capture those funds.
All right, well,
But I think it's imprudent for us now to go after, expansion when we don't even have our house cleaned.
I have to pass because I'm not allowed to talk too long, but
Okay, no
let me
problem.
ask you one last question.
Sure.
Does the state allow you to put money aside for capital projects, or you pretty much have to spend everything that you have?
Right, how we really don't, how to explain this?
Does it
On
count
the
against you in
day-to-day, on the
funding formula?
operational budget, because
Yep.
a lot of people, and I didn't even understand this before too long ago. The operational budget works this way. When a client comes into us, we capture 30% of their income. So if somebody makes $22,000 a year and somebody that makes $5,000, we only touch 30% of each of those. So at the end of the day, we roughly get between $35,000 to $37,000 or $38,000 a month from all of our revenues. And that pays for every single thing from soup to nuts, our operational costs. There's a small percentage of maintenance, there's some emergency maintenance, that's the day-to-day business. Where the state helps, and they do provide about 17 to 20% of subsidy on the day-to-day basis. How they go and do the capital improvement projects, which are called CIP, when they sell bonds, when the state has a little extra money, they help one way or another. They either loan you the money to fix your projects, or they're able to give us a little extra. And they announced that, you need to apply for this funding that's going to be released. Like they sold bonds, and that money will be available in 2016. So I know between now and then, hopefully our units will be taken care of,
Okay, thank
If
you.
not, we're gonna write different
What were you
things. and-
saying? Okay, before we get too far into this,
Yep.
I'm not a lawyer, but I understand that we went over that with the lawyer. So at this point, it's not a question to me of whether or not it passes or not, because you're clearly stating it's not going to meet the criteria. But I believe, and this may be where Mr. Sullivan comes in, I believe the comment made by our town council was, in fact, it may meet it because there was a separate issue, there's a separate line item in there that may cover it. I don't know. So anyway, I'll go on with the questions. I just want to tell you, from a legal standpoint, I can't really make that decision. So, and I'm not sure that we should be making it on that unless we're confident in that then we have counsel to tell us that. Anyway, Mrs. Donahue.
I was going to give my time to Mr. Tufts if he had more questions, because he was on a roll.
Well,
I didn't put a time limit on it.
I know.
well, no, but I felt I was,
He was doing,
Well, this is first off, this is the first time we've had an opportunity to have you here, and I think this is something that needs to be done before town meeting or before the budget cycle starts, so that we have a better understanding as we go through the process of the housing authority. Because I think it in the past it was we didn't get a lot of information out of that area. Now looks like we're going to get more information, and I think it's critical that we have them in visit us once every 6 months or something. So, Mr. Tufts.
well, I think you've already stated what my biggest issue is that there are no, I don't mean to put it this way because it sounds wrong. I want to say there's no finite plans for capital improvements, because you're dealing with, you have to wait to see what's allocated to you.
No, let me not give you that impression.
Okay.
We do have a capital plan management. We do have these other buildings in line to be. But here's what happens. That's like as you know, we don't know, you as town members know that one year you'll get $15 million from the state, the next you get $5. So if we have the pile of money now and it's usable now, then we ask now. Like that 30,000 sustainability fund, that just came through, but I had already written, the deadline for CP. I didn't know I was going to get that. So we have definite plan, but that's what it is. It's just a plan. I know that eventually we're going to get these buildings fixed. What we're just trying to do is supplement the money. Supplement our taxpayer money with other taxpayer money.
Well, the more money that comes from outside Wareham, the better. That's fair.
Well,
The more that we
it's
can-
in the,
But the
yeah.
question is, now, I guess, the question I'd have is that, so would you say that the application of CPA funds is more a requirement to say that you've gone after all available funds versus the actual need for the CPA funds?
Oh, no, we actually have a need for the CPA funding. We have a need. Although we have a budget and we live within our budget, and we have lots and lots, and there's, we are dealing with 50-year-old buildings that have never been touched, and they have needs, and things break, and it's a revolving door of capital plan management and supplementing our budget.
Thank you.
Please, I'm sorry.
oh, and I will say thank you. Thank you for coming before us. Thank you for taking on this job and making some corrections to the situation over there. And I think part of the problem that I and others probably have is the whole jurisdiction issue of this. It's property that was donated by the town
One parcel was.
One parcel was.
Not the 34
It's
Church Ave.
run by the state.
No, it's not.
No,
No.
okay.
This
Explain
is-
to me how
right,
that's
how
related,
It
because
was
that's-
enacted, Wareham Housing Authority is under Mass General Law, Chapter 121B.
Okay.
And that's where, at the town meeting vote, back in 1962, and I have it right here, and I wanted to read it because it's short and it's easy to, I'm so sorry. I hereby certify the following vote of the Town of Wareham Annual Town Meeting held March 5th, 1962. Article 23, voted that the Wareham Housing Authority shall be organized and established under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 121, Section 26K, and acts in amendment thereof and in addition thereto. So the Town of Wareham legislative body put into place the Wareham Housing Authority. They have an elected member, 5-member body. One is appointed, the other 4 are elected, and that is who has jurisdiction and complete accountability to the state of Massachusetts and the taxpayer voters of the town of Wareham. So it's all of our responsibility at the end of the very long day. Who owns what? We receive state subsidies. We have people that pay, Wareham residents that pay into that day-to-day, and we receive state subsidies. But we also now can receive other subsidies, and we can take charitable donations, and we can do a lot of other things under the Mass General Law 121B, which it's an authority. It's the same as the other different authorities around the state. And it's one of those, it's like a quasi-governmental agency, and that's where it gets very gray. We're not budgeted under the DOR regulations as some of your town offices are, and it is just that.
But you're responsible to your board of directors, that's who your boss is.
The board of directors are the ones that sign, and the state will be the first one to tell you, when they want something official, we need a board vote and a board signature. All the budgets are certified by the board members, and every board member has to sign our budget. And it's certified by them, sent to the state, and approved by them. They say, well, okay, because they only give us 16 to 17% of the operating funds.
Any more questions on 22? Yes, Mr. Hurd.
Yes, thank you for coming, and thank you for
Thank you.
leading us through the maze of how this operates. I understand that you do have a capital plan for
Yes.
the existing structures and the
Yes.
existing buildings. So you do have an ongoing program to try to
Yeah.
maintain them and repair them. In addition, you have a long-term plan to increase the number of units. And
We
that's what you're
absolutely
looking at.
cannot go any further in Massachusetts, in Wareham, without helping our low to moderate,
Well,
yeah.
you have a plan.
Yep.
Now, I also understood at the beginning of this conversation that you're expecting a letter that's different than this, which clarifies the use of the CDC funds
Right.
for the required repairs, is that correct?
It's going to be a letter from DHCD whether or not this is an acceptable CPA article. That's what the letter will be. Within the realm of the CPA,
Community
Preservation Act
Act.
itself,
Yeah.
yeah.
When do you expect to get that?
I'm hoping any day now. I mean, it's.
So
in the
that's really
bureau-
going to determine whether or not we can even go ahead with this at town meeting, that letter.
I think that, no.
No, we can still go
You can go
ahead
ahead
with
with
it,
it.
but it would probably be rejected
Maybe-
if it was voted, if it
wa-
doesn't meet the criteria.
If it doesn't meet the criteria, but I believe it,
Thank you.
so.
That was it? Okay. Let's, we won't vote on it yet. Article 23, which is the remove, replace underground plumbing and building. I think you've kind of covered that,
Yeah.
but just for anybody had any questions on that article? And that's in Building 1?
Yes.
And what was the total amount of that?
59?
That's 59 from CPA money, but what's the total?
Oh, of all three I mean.
Oh, no, of the cost, because the 59,000 is going, I don't see how that's going to remove and replace all the underground plumbing.
Not in all of the units.
No, but this is even a unit.
It will do Unit 1. We've had the state engineers come down and take a look
Okay.
at it, and they gave us the price.
All right, any questions? That is structural, so that one,
Yep.
So that's the total cost.
That's the total cost, yes.
Again, it's an asbestos issue.
No, no, not the piping. The piping is not
Well,
just.
the jackets on all those
The
pipings
jackets are the
all those-
asbestos,
are
but they will.
And you gotta pull them back 20 feet or stuff like that. But
Right, but much like the Tremont Nail Factory plumbing issue over there, you know, the fire and the pinning of the 50-year-old pipes, or however they're old, it's the same thing we're facing as well.
But it is structural because pipes are
Yes.
part of the structure of the building, so.
this is for hot and cold water, I'm assuming, that are running in that piping system.
If it's got asbestos, it'd be steam.
But is it just a jacket to keep, because it's a crawl space
No,
underneath the buildings?
Right, that's just the
and they're
insulation
jacketed.
that they used 50 years ago, but this is the structural issue. This would definitely, there was absolutely no question on this article. I've been verbally told that.
And of the 5, there's only one building where there's this piping, this jacketing has failed to the system has failed.
No.
So you
There's
gotta-
sections of it that are better than others, but it all needs to be, you need to find a certain amount of piping that is strong enough to hold a repair. We're gone way beyond that. There's too many sections that are 6 to 12 feet long that we've repaired already
In all 5 of the units?
in all 5 of the units. That's what the structural engineers said at DHCD.
But the 59,000 will cover
One unit.
one unit.
One unit is already covered. We're matching that other 59,000 with, there's actually 3 buildings that are covered from 3 different sources of money, and hopefully in town meeting, we get a yes vote. So that will be our 3rd building. So that project, we have 2 other matching amounts coming from 2 different sources. Well, ultimately, out of all of our pockets.
But all of the buildings need this.
All of the buildings
Okay,
need
that's
that.
what we're trying to get.
Yes.
All of the buildings need it.
Yes.
You've got sources for 2 of them. This will cover 1 more.
Yes, correct.
Anyone else?
How big are the buildings? How many units in each building?
There's 8 in Agawam Village, there's 5 buildings with 8 units in each building.
Sorry, so it's 59,000 to do the piping for 5 units,
8
Correct. 8 units, 8 units, I'm sorry.
8 units.
Let's get that math right. We're on the finance committee here, so.
Well,
The biggest helicopter view I can give is there's 105 people in 100 units in 2 areas.
yeah.
And there's a waiting list of 1,000. I mean, this is just round numbers.
Yep, yep.
So that's the issue right there.
We have between.
These buildings
Yeah.
are 50 years old. I was assuming that the outside got done every 25 years, but it looks like they're getting done once every 50 years, which is beyond the period of normal maintenance on a shingled building such as they're there. The one building they did do on the outside, building 1, they weren't able to get to the roof, but it looks much different and much better than the 4 others that are going to be done in the next 2 years. Or I'm gonna
to
come
3,
by
yeah.
and,
Well, we're working furiously.
Okay.
I'm doing the best I can.
Any more questions on 23? No more questions. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. It was nice meeting you. And please, anybody that wants to come by, give us a call. We'll make an appointment. Mr. Worthing came by, and hopefully, Larry, you'll be able to come by soon.
I will
Thank you.
stop by on, you guys are usually gone by the time I get home,
I
so
know.
just so you know.
keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's go back to the town administrator's report, so we can get Mr. Sullivan out of here. He's got a cot in his office now, so just so you know. And I'll be back. Marilyn, I'll be right back.
Yes, I don't really think there's anything on the TA report except going over some of the information on the sale of the auction properties. So, yeah. Thank you. I'll try not to pronounce my P's and drive Bob crazy. This is As you know, last Thursday, we held an auction of our tax title properties. I want to go over some of the information so that we can clear up any of the misconceptions and ideas of what's occurred with this. The first item is that you will only get all the funds if these properties actually close. They've bid and they've put a deposit on them. The deposits totaled $90,000. So I don't see why anyone would walk away from these properties. Has happened in the past. So we can't count on all the revenue until it's in. So I'd like to just go through the revenues that if everything closed, what we would receive. There's the winning bids, which were totaled $434,000. The buyer's premium, which was 7%, or $30,380. There's a special assessments on the properties totaling $26,000. Recording fee costs from Plymouth County, we received $1,250. Pro rata real estate taxes, 73 days left in the year, so they had to pay through the rest of the year. That equaled $1,118.20. And because it was past January 1, they also had to pay the pro forma tax for FY 2015, which equaled $5,590.98. The pro forma tax is based off of what the property sold at, not the assessed values. So that totaled $498,339.18. Less the deposit, it means due at the closing is $408,339.18. Now let's go through the auction, through the expenses. When we spoke about the buyer's premium, the 7%, that's how the auctioneer was paid. We don't pay, we did not hire the auctioneer and pay them. We hired them and they put a buyer's premium on there and they're paid directly from that. Attorney's fees for the properties, including land court, amounted to $82,672. The only reason we were able to get this far and actually auction off the properties is these attorneys are not paid until the properties are sold. So we do not have to front the money. If we had to, we actually wouldn't have had the money to do this. The recording fees that we'd have paid to Plymouth County, $1,250. What we were actually owed from the tax possession was $191,775.83. The districts received from tax possession $35,139.94. And again, because it's credited towards the taxes, the pro rata and then pro forma. So the actual, the true net proceeds once we take out the auctioneer and the attorney fees, and as well as the district tax possession, $347,926.95.
Could you repeat that, please? Just the final number?
Yeah, well, actually what the town is going to receive, because of the Plymouth County, the town will receive $348,897.24. Which was $150,412.23. I don't think I have that written down, but roughly that over what we had been owed in tax possession. So if these close, this is a win for the town. Now the question is, how can you use these funds? You cannot. They will go to the general fund and then through the process would flow out to free cash. They'd only be available if there were no deficits, whether from revenue or expenses. So do we absolutely hope this would come out and be in certified free cash? We would have this as an addition, absolutely. But until next year's free cash is certified, these funds are not available. Nor should, since it would be part of free cash, nor should it be used for operating costs. We should stick with the selectmen's policy, which I believe the finance committee also agreed with. So. Yeah, And this, we'd requested a letter from the attorneys to see where we stand with some of our other tax title cases, which is probably, although it's not revenue numbers, it'll give you an idea of where we stand and the aggressiveness that Mr. Foster's been going after these. Dear Mr. Foster, pursuant to your request, I am writing to provide you with an update of the town's land court tax lien foreclosure cases. As you're aware, the town is presently litigating approximately 40 cases in the Massachusetts Land Court. That litigation represents over 180 real estate parcels, as 21 of those cases relate to the failed Pine Grove Estate subdivision. That failed subdivision itself involves approximately 150 parcels. Additionally, there are approximately 60 other parcels not yet in land court, in which our office is working with the owners or other interested parties to try and get the properties redeemed. So as part of this, instead of going through the whole tax foreclosure process and going through land court, often people redeem their properties, and the interest on that is at 14%, which we charge. So.
Where's Pine Grove, this 150 unit?
I don't know.
Does anybody know?
That's your new project, to find out where that's at on Pine Grove.
Aye, aye.
You are the best. Any other things for Mr. Sullivan? Because I've got a bunch for him. Yes.
I just want one question. So these funds are not restricted to use for real estate purposes?
No, in the
What's my
past ones,
confusion?
they've been putting them in the sale of real estate
Real
fund,
estate,
which is
yes.
improper.
Okay.
Sale of real estate fund should be if we sold one of our school buildings or town buildings. That is truly the sale of
All right,
real
so
estate.
this just flows to the general account?
Yeah.
It's free cash?
Yeah, so,
Can I follow up on that? Was that
Sure.
was that a change from when we had that first budget presentation?
Yes.
Because I thought you'd said we
That
had.
was my
about-
confusion. It
I thought we
to
had
go-
like 430,000, if I was right, from sale of buildings in one of the forecasts, one of the.
no, you wouldn't have had 430,000 from sale of real estate.
I don't remember the number, but I know that it had to go
We
into.
had to take money out of the sale of real estate account to fund the assessor's reval. And that money had been put in there by when the other tax title properties were sold.
Right, but it
Should-
didn't have to go in there.
No,
is
it
now what you're
doesn't.
saying.
Right.
And so that's
Okay.
that's
All
where
right,
it
so
came
the-
up. I
so
knew we did that
you
transfer.
had previous sales
Yes.
prior years, and then,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't know if this was a new requirement that was kind of dumped on us from DOR.
No, this is, it's just us being aggressive in our collections and such. At the end of the day, we don't want it to own property. It's
Mhm.
not what we do. We don't do it well. The property up in Plymouth Ave, which was the big seller, which I think for about $150,000+, we were, in all honesty, we were terrified. It was a great house that we were waiting for people to break in and destroy stuff and sell it, and we'd sell it for less. So, not something we want.
Before that's done, if I may, Mr. Chairman, before that's done, is it reviewed by all departments? Like, for instance, do we go to and I know the Housing Authority is not one of your departments, but do we go to them and say, hey, does any of these fit the criteria that you're looking for before we go and sell it?
If we weren't cash strapped, it's actually what we probably would do, but we needed the proceeds from this. So I understand what you're saying. In some cases, in other towns, let's say the CETA might buy one of the properties, rehab it. They would buy it from us for what's owed on the taxes, rehab it, and turn it into an affordable housing unit. But
If there's 150 units somewhere that someone could turn their property over to somebody.
yeah, this is parcels, so they're not built properties. and
No,
such, yeah.
but but the land would be
Yeah.
available, and if it's already subdivided on paper,
Yeah.
you could turn that into a development. But anyway, if it was a charity that they could donate their land to and get out of the tax problem, they might want to do that. But
Did you have something to add, Sam?
If I may.
Yes, please. Come sit with Derek.
Look, she could walk,
I
she
know,
can
with
walk.
okay.
Yeah, oh, she can dance.
New knee. Yes, notice no limp.
I was the chair of Affordable Housing Trust, and several years ago, we submitted an article at town meeting that we would use some of our housing trust funds to allow the town to do the title release of some property that was at the end of
Charge
Charge Pond
for
Road, very end, all that.
Seawood Springs,
Yes.
okay.
And the idea was that we would use the Affordable Housing Trust funds to find tax title for these properties and sell them off as affordable. That failed at town meeting. But every time there is an auction, we at the Affordable Housing Trust look at what's on the plate to see if it's something that we can't ask the town to hold back on, that we could use for affordable housing. Just wanted to let you know that as we are doing that due diligence to see if it's something we can do, but just to.
Even if you're asking, we may not be giving.
You may not, but I think the Seward Springs is still
Seawood.
on the plate.
Yeah.
It's still there, nothing's happening to it, so.
I
But I just
I
wanted to
think
let
the
you know.
climate, I know if that failed at town meeting, I think the climate has changed quite a bit since that happened.
Yeah, I mean, we were willing to fund the title
And-
searches for it, but
Different times, different
yes, it
times.
was,
So you might,
3 years ago, 4
And
years ago?
the
oh,
article
definitely
was
different times.
flawed from a legal perspective, but the intent was
Yeah.
good, so we can bring
It's
that
still,
back.
it's still
and-
on our plate.
Good.
Yeah,
We
I
can
would,
bring that
I would
back
look
and
at that in the
revisit it.
fall, something like that would come up in the fall.
Okay, thank
so.
you.
You know,
Yes.
there's a lot of things in my past career that I'm not really proud of. But one of the things I was proud of is that we were able to take some land and some parcels, and we turned one of them over to the May Institute, and they built a home for, homes for kids. And then we would, once a year, we would pick a parcel and turn it over to Habitat for Humanity, and it was a community project where they would come in and build that house for somebody, and that was kind of a rallying cry for the town.
We may be getting back to the point that we as a community could do something like that, which would be nice, because we've been fractured for years of just about that, which should be no-brainer, do-good projects, but we haven't been able to do it, so.
Personalities got in
Yes,
the
thank
way
you, Jeff,
of
and-
good ideas a lot of time.
Tell
Okay,
us the stories about the bad things later on, we're not on camera.
There were lawsuits, there were a lot of.
yeah. All right, so here's what if you're up for it, Mr. Sullivan, I want to run through some annual town meeting warrant articles that you may have input into,
Okay.
and then we'll ditch you like a bad date. So,
It's the other way around, he's ditching us.
Yeah, I've had
Okay,
worse offers.
let's go with the annual spring town meeting, not the special town meeting warrant, because there's several on there that I think we can cover relatively quickly. Number 2 is recurring business, contract applications, compensating balance agreements, reports to town meeting, and septic loan program.
Yeah, the reason why these were paired together is they're essentially,
Housekeeping.
yeah. So,
Is there anything you need to add to them? There's no dollars involved in that. These are just the agreements.
yeah, I wanted to make sure with D on there,
Is that
with-
53 E and a half?
for the septic loan
Yeah, it's
program.
accepting the revolving account, isn't it?
Yeah, because we've got this one already, all set up, and it's CETA that manages that, but.
Yeah, that goes through CETA. That's the, so anything else on that article you need to add?
No, I think.
All right. I'll entertain a motion on Article 2,
I move favorable action on Article 2.
recurring business. I need a second.
Second.
All those in favor? Oh, wait, any
Discussion?
questions, any discussion first? It's housekeeping,
Yeah.
that's not the big
I
deal.
was wrong.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those oppose? All those abstain? That's, how many of us? 6 of us tonight?
6-0.
6-0.
And Mr. Chair, I have the explanations for those.
Okay, that's a plug and play, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, Kelly provided the explanations for those. For
Kelly's so
previous years, we're
wonderful.
good.
Article 3 is the compensation of certain appointed officials. And then we do need number input for that.
There's 3 altogether. 2 are per annum, which is the town clerk, $67,286. The registrar, $700, and then the town moderator received
700 or 7,000?
700.
Wow, okay.
And then the town moderator receives a per diem just during town meeting of $118. I
Per
think I
diem.
didn't explain that last night.
And could you repeat the town clerk's salary, please?
$67,286.
And the registrar 700, which is the same person, correct?
Correct.
All right. Any discussion? Wait, I'll entertain a motion on Article 3, compensation of certain appointed officials.
So moved.
And a second by
Second?
Mrs. Font's had her hand up first. Okay, any discussion?
Derek, can you explain how is the town clerk's salary figured?
Well, it's what their salary's been, and then if there's anything, she's an elected official, but we try and match it up to whatever the union
Whatever the-
contracts are.
Okay,
She would be in the steelworker upper management unit.
okay.
I don't get the correlation between town clerks and steel, but, you know.
Have you met Marianne?
Depends how you, depends how you spell it.
And that, my friends, is on tape, just so you know. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstain? 6-0-0. 2015 revolving funds, I believe the only change, well, there might be two, because I know the library is not 20,000, it's 30,000.
Correct, and then the social recreation had been moved down to $1 at previous town meeting. We might look at removing that, but could be potential to be used in the future if we have a recreation program back. And I apologize that I didn't catch these errors beforehand, so that's my fault.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion on 2015 revolving funds, Article number 4.
I move favorable action on Article 4, FY15 revolving funds.
Second.
Seconds. Okay, any more discussion?
Just discussion as to how we're going to present this. I think we talked about it. These corrections will be made before.
They would be in the, on the screen, and they should be in the packet that's given through town meeting, your
So when we make
finance
the
committee.
motion at town meeting, it's as presented on the screen, or?
No, it's well, yeah, I move to approve the revolving funds as printed in the warrant's already gone out, hasn't it?
Yeah, so I think on the, Madam Moderator, do you think on the screen would be better, or?
You haven't printed the FinCom warrant.
Right.
So it's going to,
them in the FinCom warrant.
right,
And
that's what
that's why
I'm,
sometimes
that's,
using the words warrant in FinCom,
the report of the finance committee,
Yeah.
I think if we say it that way, and it's the
as printed
screen.
in the report of the finance
As
committee.
printed in the, remember that, my motion geniuses.
Yeah, I had that written down, I
Okay.
just want to make sure of it, so.
So this is, yes, library is 30,000
You-
and the social recreation is 1.
Do you need this?
Make sure I got them all there. And there's 2 on the back. There's shellfish propagation and Board of Health.
Right.
So I just want to tell you that's on the second page. There's 2 more. Is there any more questions or comments or concerns? No more levity? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstained? 6-0-0. We've seen the capital plan when Mr. Gibberti came before the committee.
Right. But the only items we'd really be funding out of it, I know there's a Greasezilla article, but the only ones that are in the budget really right now are under the police line, you see capital, and that's the lease of cruisers. I probably would ask that we don't do a number in the motion. During the last time when we did it for the number in the motion, we ended up, because one of them was a supervisor's vehicle, we probably could have gotten 4 vehicles instead of 3, the way it worked out with the pricing of the vehicles we received. But because it was at town meeting for 3, we could only put in the order for 3. I do plan approximately 6 units for that. Right now, and because the interim chief is able to reuse some of the equipment, doesn't feel that you need the brand new ones each time, we've been able to get the SUV interceptor units for approximately $45,000. And when they have a supervisor vehicle, it's only 35,000 because you don't need the same equipment, including the cages and the build-up in the back. So the pricing's been excellent on them.
Just a couple questions. This is going to be a unique situation because we'll have two budgets.
Right.
One of them's going to be pretty much barren, and the other one may have more capital items in it. So this is probably one we need to hold off until next week. And then can we vote? See, now we're talking about a contingency capital plan, because whatever we vote in here, is that going to be the capital that we have to stick with?
It'd be interesting, and I'm probably going to get hit with a book from behind real quick, but as if we're
She's
just
winding
seeking, we're seeking the approval on this, and without a funding mechanism, even if you have the approval, you can't purchase it. But I don't like that, because what happens if there was suddenly, we received a bunch of new state revenue and we had to vote at the next town meeting, or somebody retired and we had some funds and I'm suddenly saying, oh, well, we're going to buy this item. It just doesn't sound right. It isn't as transparent as it probably should be.
I think this goes back to what we talked about when we were writing the motions, that the capital plan is a little backwards. So, but I'm concerned with this one, and maybe we ought to hold it off, because with two budgets, one of them has significantly more capital in it than the other one. So whatever, but again, this is a plan. When we vote on the plan, you're right, that doesn't mean we have to spend it, correct? So if we came in with the capital plan for the contingency budget, then we'd be safe to approve that. And then whatever money we were afforded through that, we should be able to adjust the capital plan down, and maybe we can come back in the fall if we have to adjust it down. We can do something at that point. Has anybody got any comments or suggestions on that? This is going to be a unique situation this year.
Just watching you dance.
I'm dancing.
You
Well,
dance as good as she would.
but you understand what I'm saying. When you go into town meeting with two budgets and one has significantly more capital than the other, you have to take that into consideration when you're looking at this article. Let's hold this one off till next week. This is certainly something to, in Article 6 and Article 7, we're going to hold off till next week because we have a meeting tomorrow night to discuss those. And Article 9 will be discussed next week, which is the water pollution control facility. The high school roof project.
Yeah, did we want to invite Mr. McMillan in to speak on that?
Yes,
one?
next week. I would like to have him next week early.
I was going to be fresh and say he can come in and speak to us
I
anytime.
know. He's got the great accent. I know. Cemeteries.
I don't notice it anymore.
Yeah. Only time I notice is when I'm not listening. So, I mean, when I hear him talking, I think, wait a minute, let me slow down. Article 14 is the cemetery cells, which is the 32,000, which I believe that's going to be the, is that me doing oh, that's you hitting the papers over there.
Was it me or was it you?
The breakdown, we had the cemetery commissioners come before us. It was a breakdown of everything but the $90,000 for the building. Is that correct?
Yes, my understanding is the 90,000, we're seeking to cure that through the spring special town meeting and having another article. on
Right.
that.
We'll get to that one shortly. So,
So,
and everybody heard that. Is there, I'll entertain a motion on Article 14, which is they call in cemetery cells. Using the receipts from appropriation of sales of cemetery lots and graves. Do you remember, was everybody here for that? So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move favorable action on Article 14, cemetery sales.
Yeah. All right, now we can discuss. Any discussion?
So the 90,000 for the garage repairs for the building is coming off of this article.
That's correct.
It's going to go on to the special town meeting because it's really a capital item. We taking this 90 out altogether?
I would,
Oh.
I would reduce this down to the 32,000.
Okay.
What meeting was that? Do you remember? I can tell you. I got it. I got it right here. It'd be utilized for cemeteries. Well, that's pretty much it.
I think the word was embellishment, which we.
We went through that with town council. We've read it all. It's just going to be what it's going to be.
I don't have the notes, but the only thing that we had a problem with was the 90,000, which is now out of the article. So I can go back and I can go through my notes for the next 15 minutes if you like. I mean, everybody was here that's sitting at this table other than Mr. Hurd, who didn't have it. I don't believe Mr. Hurd was here.
I was not.
I moved to 32.
Okay.
Or did you already have that? You already had that motion. Oh, you did, sorry.
You were the second.
See, what's what happened when you read minutes, I start the days. So I forgot where it was.
We're just punch drunk at this point in the budget process. Is there any other questions? I don't think there was any other issues on that article. I think everybody was in agreement. The issue we had was the 90,000. So, all those in favor?
I
All those opposed? All those abstain? One abstention. So we have 501. That was Article 14. 501. We're still holding the Lynn Road and street layout?
Yes.
We're still holding that? Okay. Was the public hearing for the amended zoning bylaws, was that Monday?
I think so, yeah.
Do you know what the outcome?
Did that gentleman come in last night? I thought they said that they had voted to support that, but that's, I don't want to say that.
Well, they
because
did
it may
vote
change.
5-0-0
Yeah.
to support it, but that doesn't, you know.
Yeah.
Was there ever, anybody not here other than Mr. Hurd for the amended zoning bylaws? That was the, what I like to call the shed article. It was moving the setbacks so that they could,
10 and 5.
10 and 5, that's what it was. I was going to say 10 and 2. Good thing I went to you first, Mr. Hurd.
10 and 15, actually.
I'll entertain a motion on Article 24 before I go back to Article 23. Any motions?
A move.
There you go. I got a motion. I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a second. Now, any discussion on this?
I have a question on this, and I might have to call our moderator to the table again. What I'm looking at is a petitioned article to see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaws for accessory buildings in residential districts. Period. He gives me an explanation, but the article itself does not give the changes. So I have some concerns about what we're changing here. I mean, I know what his intent is, and we had this discussion with him, but I don't know that this is a complete article.
I think you're gonna have to wait and see what his motion is, because I know last night at the selectmen's meeting, he mentioned that he would be amending what he was submitting, so I think we really have to wait and see what his motion is and what he's amending. It may not even fall within the scope.
Okay. So the notice that was given to the town was that he wants to vote to amend the zoning bylaws, and he had a hearing on it, which I did not attend, shame on me. And I understand his concept. I just want to make sure that this is right. So we have a motion on the table, but I'm not comfortable voting on this until I'm clear as to what he's going to propose.
Let's pull the second in the motion, we'll save it till next week.
Okay, I'll pull.
Okay?
Or send my motion.
First time you make a motion,
Thank you, Claire.
I'm going back to Article 23 for a couple reasons. I did catch a brief snippet of this at the meeting last night, but what concerns me is we sent out 3 emails to Mr. Mulkern and asking him to appear, and we had received no response. Now, I'm not waiting to the last minute. I don't know if this article has merit or doesn't have merit, but what I do know is that we've invited him to attend and he's chose not to. So from my standpoint as the Finance Committee chair, I would appeal to my board to say, I think we have to, I would consider abstaining from this because we don't have the information to vote on it. Any comments, questions? I'm not going to chase somebody for 4 or 5 weeks.
We can go to Walpole and find out how it worked out there.
Well, Do you have anything to add to that, Mr. Sullivan?
Yeah, my understanding is there was a call made to Walpole, and the implementation of it, yeah, I didn't make the call, so it's secondhand knowledge, really was seemed to be targeting two particular properties that one person owned, and once it was implemented, the properties were torn down by that person, but it's never dealt with any other property. So it's there's been nothing done with it since. So that's been a little over 2 years.
I have some issues with it as well because it's adding another layer from what I've read, and I've read what he sent us. He's adding another layer of work to the town, more people to do the work of what the Board of Health, and I believe the Director of Inspectional Services should be doing now. And
I'd be prepared to vote on this from what I know about it.
well, please
'Cause
enlighten
it's
the
not
rest of us
justified.
because I'm all ears. I really am because I personally am going to abstain because I don't take it as a personal slight, but when we ask you to come in and address our committee, and then we've asked you basically 3 times, twice in email, and I think there was a call made from the selectman's office. He did address the selectman, but he did not come before us. And I don't like to judge an article that I haven't got a lot of knowledge on. So, any more comments? Or go ahead, Mr. Worthen. I'm serious. If there's anything you want to add, please. Microphone.
I don't think it's been justified.
If we don't have enough information, I think we should abstain.
I'm all ears, folks. And that's not because I have really big ones either. So.
Well, my reason would be to vote against it is because he has not presented a justification as to the return we would have from charging this $100.
I have not seen a financial plan.
For that reason, I would vote against it.
Yes, Mrs. Donovan.
I have another reason, which is just in the bigger picture. I have a real concern with lumping abandoned and foreclosed buildings in the same category. Foreclosure is a quite different aspect. Foreclosure is legal ownership. Abandoned needs to be defined as to what is abandoned, but just because a property's been foreclosed does not necessarily mean that it's in any kind of derelict state. And it does not properly define it that way. Foreclosed, as we've just seen with the properties that the town took, you can be foreclosed holding a mortgage on a property because of death of a family member, and it may be another family member. I don't want the town to have the right to come in and impose restrictions on my property. So I really take exception for the language in this article. Okay. And I don't think that further clarification without amending it would receive my support.
Just on the cost aspect, so if they would have to, we would try and hunt somebody down for $100 and going through the land courts to figure that out. Our cost for the 10 lots we sold were $82,000. So just simply say that it's $8,200 per. I mean, I don't see that being sort of a win. And I do understand, if I lived next to one of these houses and it was something, I would have an issue with it as well, but it can't, I don't think this is the cure for it.
But you have an avenue now with public health.
Right.
You have the Board of Health, you have the Director of Inspectional Services, you have you have avenues available to you now.
We do have them, and if it's through tax title, but not all of these properties that are dilapidated are back on their taxes. And when you start, like we start to redeem them and such, I mean, go after them. Sometimes they redeem them and pay it up. So, there's people sometimes attribute it more powers to the town than it has to just go out and scoop up properties.
Okay. Did I have?
Does Claire want to speak?
Yes. You want to speak, Mrs. Moderator? Madam Moderator.
Just one concern that I have, and I haven't seen any advertising for a public hearing. And I'm not sure that between now and town meeting that there would be adequate time for the planning board to meet and have a hearing on this.
I don't think this requires a public
It's a
hearing.
zoning bylaw according to his, what's that?
Hold on.
Mr. Mulcairn, I asked him last night, he said he did not
There
attend
has-
a,
I'll tell you in a minute, hold on.
They had three public hearings on 3 different articles.
Okay.
yeah, I asked Mr. Mulcairn last night, and he said he had never been invited to a public hearing.
Mulkern's article is a bylaw article, not zoning. No hearing, citizens partition. So,
Yeah, it's an administrative fee versus,
I think we're trying to create an entire circus for somebody to ride one on.
Motions, you want to do like a reverse, you want to say motion to favorable action, and then if we vote it down.
Yeah, this year. Whoever the new chairman is, I would recommend that you don't do it this way in the future, especially since as the finance committee, what we're doing is the finance committee makes a motion to advise favorable or unfavorable action on this article and the vote. I know why they did it this way, because there are people at town meeting, and I've seen it when I used to attend town meeting, that get very confused when you say, well, they made a motion for unfavorable action, and, you know, it's confusing. So they try to make all the motions the same, and then you look at the favorable, if it's a favorable motion, if they're voting for it or against it. So it
But
was,
shouldn't the correct way be, we withdraw the favorable motion, we vote no action?
if you're voting no action, that's, well, I'm gonna entertain a motion.
Then it could get passed. Then it could-
I'm gonna entertain a motion, and you all can huddle up and decide what motion you wanna make, but,
Sounds to me like it's unfavorable. It doesn't seem to be.
no, it doesn't sound like this is a no action. It is,
I
it,
guess I'm wondering why we're afraid of the word against, you know, we're not in favor.
We're
well,
not-
I'm not a favor of it, but I think they did this because I seen so much confusion at town meeting early on, where people were confused by the motions, that they just changed to everything being a favorable. Now, my personal feeling is that's not a good idea, but that's the way it was done when we came aboard, and you know, I failed miserably in changing that during my term as the
You have enough
chairman.
other things to worry about.
It was not high on my list, but I would encourage the next chairman to take a real hard look at the way we vote,
So
because.
voting on the merits of this,
We could give you another chance, you know.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you for bringing me back to reality here. So I'll entertain a motion on this article. Article 24, which is the amend the zoning bylaw. It says zoning bylaws, but anyway,
I would make a motion not to support Article.
voting for,
let's just make a favorable motion and vote. How about
I'll
that?
make a motion to approve the
Okay.
article.
Let's try it again. I'll make a motion for favorable action on
Favorable action on this
Article 24. I need a second?
second.
Second. Okay. All
Wait, are we
those in,
doing Article 24 or 23? We're doing 23.
23.
I'm sorry, 23.
That's why it's
My
not.
bad.
Okay.
Should we do it again?
Yes.
Okay, I need a motion on Article 23, abandoned buildings.
I move favorable action on Article 23, abandoned building and foreclosed buildings.
I need a second.
Second.
Second. All those in favor of Article 23? All those who oppose? All those abstain? Which way did you go on that one, Mrs. Font?
Opposed.
Opposed. Okay, so I have 5-0, 5-1. Okay, so the rest of the articles on this we'll cover next week. Now let's go to the special town meeting and see if we can't get through what's left here. Article 7 through Article 17 at this point is going to be, I move to pass over, and that's 2 words, pass and over, just so you know. Article 18, which is, I believe, the 15, on special town meeting warrant, Article 18 is the 15,000 for the summer help that was discussed, to see if the town will No, that's not it. What am I looking at? Oh, well, then I shouldn't read 15, should I? I move that the town vote to transfer from receipts reserved for appropriation to sale of cemetery lots and graves the sum of $15,000 and said sum to be expended by the cemetery commissioners for the care, improvement, embellishment, or enlargement of town cemeteries, subject to the approval of the Board of Selectmen as provided by Mass General Law, Chapter 114, Section 27. I'll move. I need a second.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstain? One abstention, so it's 5-0-1.
Mr. Chair, one item is Article 6, the Board of Health lease vehicle. I did receive an email from Mr. Ethier requesting that we two-word pass over this article.
Okay, so let's, who made, we voted 5-2-0, so let's, now that we have new information, we can reconsider this article, so we need a vote to reconsider this article. We need a motion to reconsider this article.
I didn't understand what he said. He said he's gonna withdraw it?
Pass over, yes.
I move that we reconsider Article 6.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those, okay, so we got, wow, we're back up to 6 again. Okay, 6-0-0 to reconsider. All right, want to tell us, he just wants to pass over it, this article's no longer valid, is that what you're?
Yeah, he's essentially some of the costs of the program. They're concerned that they would actually have the funds and they're revolving when this would pass.
Okay.
Obviously, they would, once they reach the 50,000 limit, once you expend up to 50,000, just because it's made more money doesn't mean you have access to those funds. So.
Okay. All right.
Wait, I'm confused. We knew that.
We did. I knew that. You knew that.
We knew that. So
They didn't know that.
they didn't know that.
I have a feeling their numbers suddenly trended somewhere else. So.
So you're saying that they won't have the funds for this vehicle?
I'm saying let's pass over the.
That's fine.
Thank you.
You know
And
what?
that's 2 words, pass over.
Pass over.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion on Article 6 to pass over the lease vehicle for Board of Health.
Second?
Well, I haven't got a
Yeah.
motion
Well,
yet.
motion.
I move that we pass over Article 6, Board of Health lease vehicle.
And I got a second from Tom Worthen. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All those abstained? 6-0-0. Yes.
On 7 through 17, do we expect there to be some settlement to that?
I'm currently in active negotiations. So.
That's his way of saying maybe.
Yeah.
And what happens is up until the day of town meeting, we can go in with the explanation that we used, our general standard one, which I think we've got over here. And if it changes, we'll get the information and we'll revote it.
Trying to figure out how you do a budget without knowing those numbers.
Well, you explain to him how you do your budget without knowing those numbers.
It's a very tough thing to do, especially when you're in years in arrears.
2.5 years in arrear.
So you're trying to obviously move forward and have agreements so that you can establish a budget. So it might be this couple gray hairs here and such. So.
There's a couple things. One is I think we have a reserve for contract negotiations. Is that what it's called?
We do have some monies that were set in reserve that we can pull out of if we have to.
All right, so that's the first one. And the second one, you can budget theoretically. So it would be helpful to have them up to date so that we could budget more closer to what the reality is. Let's see. Now comes the fun stuff. Article 22, Community Preservation Flooring for Agawam Village. I'll entertain a favorable a motion. Yes.
I was just going to say, until there's a legal determination on whether this is a use of funds, does it make sense for us to even vote on it?
Well, the comment was made that it's any day now, so we can put it off the floor too if you'd like. All right. Do you feel the same about Article 23 is the remove and replacement of underground plumbing at Building 1 in Agawam Village? Do you want to vote on that one?
Well, that one we know is allowable, so we
And
can
we
just
do know
vote on the
that.
merits of the article.
Okay.
or the merits of the project, I guess, if you would.
Article 23, I'll entertain a motion to remove, replace underground plumbing. It's a CPC article, the plumbing at the Building 1 Agawam Village.
I move favorable action on Article 23 to remove, replace underground plumbing at the Building 1 Agawam Village.
Second. Second. Any more discussion? I know we probably have discussion on this because we really haven't discussed this.
Okay. Tom, you want to discuss this one? This is the plumbing.
Yeah, no,
You're okay with the plumbing? You just don't like the floors?
when I saw from the plumbing, I did not see Building 1's plumbing. But according to the engineer, it's in need of replacement and repair, and so I can't go against that. The issue is the asbestos jacket on there that makes it a lot more expensive to do it, because you gotta get in there and wear protective gear, and the disposal is expensive.
You know, this is just my take on this. We see very little articles since I've been around, and probably some other members here that have been around a long time, coming for any kind of doing anything at the Wareham Housing Authority.
In fact, we were under the impression for many years that this was state property and we had no authority over there.
Well, they did $50,000 on doors within the past year.
Yes.
But that was CETA, I believe, money. Didn't they use that?
No,
it
they
was
did use CPC. That
Yeah.
was the
It was
first,
CPC money.
the first funding that we
Well,
were.
we have seen very little in the past, and we've all had several discussions about how it was wearing down. Why wasn't there any money put into it? There was huge debates over whose responsibility it was for a number of years. And one thing I have to say about Ms. Hickey is she's done a remarkable job chasing down money. And my only issues with these are legal issues. If they come back and they have a ruling that this is structural, it fits in under structural, I'm going to vote for it, because CPC has the money. CPC, it's met the criteria, and in my opinion, it's something that needs to be done desperately. So you're right. I'll hold off on Article 22, but yeah,
I would.
I know you
vote
would.
for it, yeah.
That's why I sent you out there first. Yes, Mr. Tubbs.
Yeah, again, I don't go against the merits of the project. In fact, I am in favor of a systematic way to keep your capital in line. And the people that live in this development shouldn't be, subject to purgatory, because, nothing's gonna get fixed. But I think that I think what we're setting up is that there is no way if we set this precedent to put a stop to this train, that we could end up just covering maintenance, when the real thought behind the CPA money for this segment was to create additional affordable housing or elderly housing. And we just heard it tonight that there's a definite need for it. There's a waiting list for it. And again, I'm concerned that maybe that's what the CPA should be for, and not necessarily just the maintenance of it.
Okay.
To
Mr. Donnie.
respond to that comment, yes, I agree and I appreciate, but one of the objections has always been, how could we create new affordable elderly housing when we can't take care of what exists? And it's been made, there was a project, I even hate to mention the name Westfield, that had gone out there to look at doing more senior affordable housing, and it just never got off the drawing board for a multitude of reasons. But at that time, one of the arguments was, let's look at what we already own, let's fix what we already own. So I think at this point, this is probably a valid use of this money, although I would caution future finance committees and future community preservation to make sure that we are only doing capital improvements and not doing maintenance. Obviously, we can't just do maintenance on it. But yeah, with an eye towards getting these up and fully restored, and go forward and get new units. So that should be the ultimate goal, but I would be in favor of spending the money on these repairs at this time.
Any more comments, questions? Yes, Mr. Hurd.
I think Jeff has a very good point, and we really should use CPC monies for community preservation and looking to the future. I do appreciate the directress for saying that she is looking for all sources of money, and I know from a personal experience that when you have acidic water and copper pipes, you get pinhole leaks, and they just plague you forever. And from a economic point of view, you're better off just replacing them after a while, because they're just going to continue to leak. I'd be in favor of this.
My only comment is that there is a criteria. I agree with you. And CPC, that is their charge to see if it meets the criteria that in order to qualify for CPA money. And if they're comfortable with it qualifying for CPA money, I have to believe that they've researched that. Because they do have a criteria, and I didn't understand that for the longest time, because I saw CPC as an advocate or a proponent of the article, and they're actually not. They're just a conduit. So if they feel that this meets the criteria, then I have to believe that it meets the criteria. Any more comments? All right, I'll take a vote. All those in favor of Article 23, remove, replace underground plumbing at Building 1 Agawam? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstain?
Aye.
You're an aye. You just nod at me or something.
I nod instead of saying, yeah.
It's a 5-1-0.
You'd be better
No.
than auction.
There were two opposed.
Speak up, okay.
You abstained, is that correct?
No, I
Did
said-
you
I didn't
oppose?
oppose, no.
Oh, okay.
It was 5-1-0, right?
Yeah.
All right. I knew my math skills were working okay tonight. I'm just,
I just saw hands up at different times.
as far as the grease treatment process, that will be, Greasella will be in the house next week. So we will have a discussion about that. So that's really all the articles that we can handle this week. We have very few left. at
Does
this
the
point.
town administrator want anything to say about Greasella at the moment? Or do you
No.
want to wait till?
I think we can wait till next week. I'm just looking for some more information. So.
All right. So we'll leave Greasella off the menu tonight. What do you want to do next? We're gonna have to try. How many explanations do you need? You already got all this stuff up there, community preservation? Okay. So we're still looking at the special town meeting warrant, and I'm going to need some advice. Explanation? No, so you need explanations. We need explanations for Article 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 25, 26. That's it? We need explanations for those.
All right. So
And we will start with your little pinky and work up from there if you don't get them to us. We, on the other hand, have to write advice for these articles. And I am not opposed to lots of help with this area. And I didn't say I wouldn't help, but I have Mrs. Fonce and Mrs. Donahue working on motions. I'm working on the letter as well as I'll hold my thoughts. I'll help anybody any way they can, but if I could take the team of the three of you, you want to do that? Take Mr. Tufts, Mr. Hurd, and Mr. Worthen? You want to have them work? Because this is a special town meeting ones.
Okay.
Or how would you like to handle it? I'll leave it up to you.
Oh, that's fine.
No, please go ahead.
I lost you. What are you trying to do?
We need advice written
We
on
need
those,
advice, okay.
based on the votes. We don't have budget, we don't have,
You're going to do the advice on the
I'll do number 1, which is the budget
budget
transfer.
transfers, okay.
That'll be Larry.
Do you want to do stabilization too?
Sure.
This is on the special town warrant.
This is on a special town meeting warrant.
Okay.
LED lighting, we voted 7-0-0. is everybody here for that? Do we have any information?
I had a question on the minutes on that. Weren't we told that there was a 3 or 4 year payback on this investment? Is it? Was I?
Not on all of them. The payback time is different per structure.
Okay. So we don't really know what the payback is.
There's about, we estimate the savings if we did all the buildings at approximately $180,000 a year. But we'd have to break it down per structure, which we'll try and do.
But and the total cost is?
At that point, you're looking at probably 2.7 years for a payback of everything.
I mean, that's good enough for me, yeah.
I'm not sure how we're going to write advice on this because we really don't have a financial breakdown unless we can get one from you, Mr. Sullivan.
We recommend spending money to save money.
Well, I know that, but I like to be a little more thorough than that.
A little bit more specific.
Is that how they did it where you came from?
No.
I can try and get from the people that are involved, kind of have a grid on it. I just don't know if it explains it as well, but maybe we can put something together off of it.
Is there a fuse on the availability of the funds?
If we say no to this, we would basically be out of the extra percentage that we received. So
That's the important thing, is you gotta act within a certain time frame.
you know, we would have to finish these all up by the end of August.
And it's
So-
a very good financial justification.
Mr. Worthen, would you like to write the advice on this?
I guess I had just have.
Well, you haven't written it. LED lighting is Mr. Worthen. The personal property revaluation.
And snow and ice both come from
Yeah.
free cash.
This is coming from free cash. Do you want me to just
I
take?
can do both of those.
All right, so that's Mrs. Donahue. Don't everybody jump up at once and take these over. Cemetery sales.
Oh, definitely.
That would be Mr. Tufts, did you say? Do you want that one?
Yeah.
Huh. We recommend spending money to save money. Yeah, I hope I don't see that.
So there's 3 cemetery articles.
Yeah.
Well, there's-
Two,
Yeah.
2 on the special and 1 on the, is that right?
Yeah, you want me to try to?
What I can do is, if you'd like to, I can hook you up with, I can hook you up, that sounds really professional. I can put you in contact with the cemetery commissioners if you'd like. Hook you up, yeah, that's, you know I've been doing this way too long.
Okay.
Jeff, you want out?
This is what happens the closer you get to town meeting.
That's why I brought food, so we wouldn't get
I don't
slap
think
happy
it's
tonight.
not-
Hotel California.
So, Mr. Tufts is gonna take 18 and 19 on the special town meeting warrant, and he's going to take 14 on the, regular town meeting.
Okay?
Is that okay, Mr. Tufts?
Yes, sir.
Community preservations, we've already got, that's, Marilyn, you said, or you already have the explanations, right? But you need advice.
I think we have advice for some of those.
Okay,
Um,
let's check on that.
On the CPC articles?
Yeah, CPC.
Is it, we're talking about 20 right now, is that right?
20, yes, Wareham Little League.
I'll do that.
All right, Tom's doing that. What I would recommend is check the advice from 2013, which I'll get you a copy. And any CPC articles, you can look at kind of the explanation and kind of work your way through that.
You can give them 21, too.
Pardon me? Yes, I am, right away, thank you. Boy, somebody's already getting,
I didn't hear what he said.
you have 22 is also, says Tom Worthing next to it, just so you know. And I bet you 23 says Tom as well, because you want, just take all 3 of the CPC, it's a lot easier, because then you're in the same mindset as you're going through them.
And if he has any questions about CPC, he has a wonderful resource.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that too, but I didn't want to say
Who's
that.
gonna write them?
No.
These are gonna be ghost written.
Number 22, we're gonna hold off, but once we have a vote on that, we'll probably, either Tom or we'll just kind of work that one through next week. Greasezilla, we're holding off on. The Boys and Girls Club, that was the property transfer. That's me. I'll do that one. Oh, Mr. Hurd. You okay with that one? No, you weren't here.
I wasn't here.
All right, so
That's my problem.
Mrs. Fonz. You want that one?
The boys and girls?
Yes. It's the article where we're taking the building back over.
I'll do it.
If you need help, like I said, what I would recommend is sending your advice to Marilyn and myself,
Yeah.
and then let us look at it. We won't discuss it in email because that's an open meeting violation, but we can bring it back to the town meeting, or
Back to our meeting.
next week for any,
Any tweaks, we can go
Right.
through the article, all the advice that we have together, just to make it, my only concern is in the past, there've been times that the advice has gone straight to Kelly. And if somebody says something, or if I say something that you don't agree with, I'd like everyone to have a chance to look at the advice and make sure we're all on the same page. And then if we want to add something because there's a strong minority opinion, we certainly have the right to put in a line or two about the dissenting vote, or the, whatever the opposite vote would be, so.
I'll take 26, which is all alcohol license. That's a pretty simple one. I'll take the simple one. How did that, that's so
I was just
rude.
gonna say, I'll take the alcohol one, but,
All right, a regular town meeting, we don't have to really do anything with the election of officers. We can kind of plug that from last town meeting. Same thing with 2, I think we can.
2 is already in there, yeah.
Elected appointing official salaries, we can plug as well. Revolving funds, I think we can too as well. Capital budget, we haven't voted on, or the other budgets we haven't voted on, but I'll handle those. And I will bring that to the committee after we vote. I'll have it ready, and then we can make changes as necessary.
For next week, is it?
Yeah, we're gonna meet tomorrow night, remember?
Yeah, but with respect to tomorrow, we're not gonna see anything until tomorrow.
Allegedly, yes.
We're not taking anything home tonight,
As far as you know.
okay? Is the capital plan in that package?
You've already seen the capital plan, haven't you received copies of it from the capital planning committee?
Yeah, we've got that plan, but that's not the plan that we're going with.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
you wouldn't see that for tomorrow night.
No, but you have,
that was $7 million.
yeah, we're not putting $7 million
Yeah.
in capital in next year.
No,
So I guess my point is, when I think of capital plan, I understand what their plan is, they're gonna present it, but we're not gonna be able to do all that at one time.
no.
So what we're really voting on is the capital plan that's approved by the town administrator.
Yeah, the capital plan and basically what you're looking for, sort of the recommendations and such. So that's why you really, having that article, the capital plan, I really think you only approve what's in the regular budget, and you'd pull in the fall town meeting from the contingent budget.
All right, so we're,
It sounds like you defer the thing and say it will be included within the budget.
we'll do it at, next week, because we'll have a chance to go over it. We'll have something ready for next week and we'll vote on it. Does that work?
It can work.
All right, Upper Cape VOTEC we can pull in, correct?
Which art, what number is that?
Number 8.
We have that.
How about number 9? I think number 9 is going to change just a little bit, but we should still be able to pull in the same advice. Which we'll have those, yeah.
Yeah, our current advice, just if anyone cares, our current advice, standard that we use for this, the Water Pollution Control Facility Enterprise Fund must be self-sustaining, as must all enterprise funds. The Finance Committee recommends favorable action on this article.
I wrote that.
Do we want to add to that? I mean, that's pretty basic.
No, I think that was excellent. Well done.
Of course you do.
That was probably the best advice I'd ever heard. Appropriation to EMS, we can also pull in, correct? That,
Well, no, we don't actually have that one. I don't know why,
don't?
but there's no recommendation from prior.
You almost use the same wording, yeah, except change it to EMS, right?
no, it's not exactly the same, because one's an enterprise fund, the other is.
Oh,
No, it's not in here.
offset receipt?
Yeah. Which is actually good, and I, it was at one time an enterprise fund, but it has changed, and it's actually good because any excess comes into the general fund and can be used. That's where free cash comes from.
Put it in, okay. We can
Okay.
tweak it. Okay.
11, we'll have to write advice on that one. That shouldn't, that's not hard either. We just need to know the article number on that one. It should be in the article.
It's in the article.
Right, yeah. Anybody? You know, who doesn't have enough to do? Mr. Hurd.
I'll do that one, rescind.
We'll give you the, like I said, whatever we write this week, let's bring it to the meeting next week. Or send it by email so that we have all copies of it and we can go through it all together and make a decision after we duke it out over the budget. Where was that one? Article. Return Everett School to town control. Sure, Mrs. Fonts.
Oh, you get all the school buildings. That makes sense. You're gonna do the Hammond lease and this, okay.
The high school roof project, I believe we did one for the study on the high school roof project. That should be a similar thing where
Yeah,
we haven't obviously voted on it, but
I would think you could go with the same frame because I think you were taking a tact about taking care of your capital items and the
Right.
needs for such.
I'll take that one. And Mr. Tufts has cemetery sales. The CPC articles are for budget transfer. Those we can pull in. We have that one, Bryant Farm and Tremont Technell. The onset bathhouse engineering was a 7-0 vote. So, do you want to just try to take something, pull it in, and then?
I can do that one.
All right, Marilyn.
Where are we? That was, all right, so 15 and 16, we should have. We must have an old.
Article 18 is an interesting one, and I don't know if anybody wants to tackle it, but basically, it's the changes to the charter changes. Are they charter changes?
From the, those would be charged.
Those are charter changes. Those are changing the dates for specific items in the roadmap to town meeting. If anybody wants to try to tackle it, sure. Mr. Tufts just raised his hand. See, I don't even give you a chance to get it all the way up before I start saying yes.
Well, I'm just looking at what's left, and I'd rather tackle it.
Well, you're a smart man, I'll tell you. This is an interesting one, the bylaw amendment for animal control, because we have a 2-2-3 vote. I'm not opposed to a pro and con here. If anybody wants to write a favorable one and an unfavorable one. I voted, what did I vote? I abstained because I have an animal. I don't know why I abstained, but that just sounds like a logical reason. Who voted for this article? Okay, well then,
Yeah.
you're elected for
take it, yeah.
favorable one. Who voted against this article? Are you sure?
I don't think it's a good one for me, because I think I compared it to using a piece of plywood as a fly swatter.
Yeah, something like that. But you did vote against it, right?
Yeah, I did vote against it.
But, you know, it's not like we need a.
I vote against it too.
All right, so Mr.
okay.
Worthing, you want to
There you
tackle
go.
the unfavorable advice?
I'm just, okay.
Do you want to? I'm asking.
Yeah, no, fine.
Try to be nice. Don't use a lot of swear words, just so you know.
I'm
So we
just
have,
gonna tell you what I think.
God love me. That's what I like about you. We're holding
Oh,
on
I-
20, what?
Yeah, okay. I'm trying to remember I don't remember how I voted on this, but I think we decided it should be policy and not bylaw. Okay.
Yeah. Well, again, we're gonna bring them in here.
We
so
think the town administrator should have put his arm around the party and said, good idea, here's a sign, put it up there.
Right.
Street layout, Cranberry Lane. Anybody want to tackle that one?
You should have some boilerplate street,
Yeah, we could,
Language.
we could try to come up with something for that.
and you could do the same if the other one goes through.
Well, transfer development rights passed, so we'll pull something in for that one too. 23, we'll have to hold off on. 24, I abstain, so I don't know who wants to do 24.
I'll do 24.
Maryland does 24. Okay,
Isn't it the other way around? Do I have that?
okay, I'm sorry. Here we go again.
23, right.
Do you know how many times she's had to reach over and scratch out what I've written and rewrite it for me? All right, so that's what it is. We're writing Maryland's writing 23.
Yeah.
And 24, we are waiting.
Now, I don't know if, did we decide who was doing 17?
Yes, Maryland is.
Okay.
So
You want
that's,
to do 17 and I'll do the charter change instead?
please feel
I'll
free
trade
to
with you.
swap. So you,
Yeah, that's fine. I don't, that's fine.
thank you.
I was trying to think of a smart comeback, but like,
So next week we'll do the budget, Mr. Sullivan, and water pollution control. Then we'll go through the, you won't have to be here for the advice, because at that point, we don't care. So, go home. Anybody else need Mr. Sullivan for anything? Do we need him for anything? Yes. Just you're free to go. You have been released.
I'm gonna give her the approval right now before I get killed.
Well, that's fine. In your packets is a glossary of terms that was lovingly put together by someone who went through other towns' glossary of terms, pulled in some of theirs, pulled in some of ours. And what I'll ask you to do is to go back through, read through them, and if you have any questions or concerns, we can bring them at the next meeting if it's okay with you. This will be, before you say anything, this will be included in the warrant book as an appendices or an addendum, depending on who you are. All right, yes, Mrs. Donahue.
I think I just had suggestions. For some of the things that show up as line items in our budget. I do not see the overlay in here.
You want what do you want terms in there for these?
Terms in there for that,
For what, overlays?
overlay and offset.
Offsets.
And I
Okay.
wasn't sure if we wanted to define state aid as well. It sounds pretty straightforward, but maybe we might consider that since we have offset receipts in there.
Okay, I will look those up and work on those.
you can do state aid without being sarcastic.
Yeah, that's really hard. Might be trouble.
Me, I've never been that bad. All right, so that's the glossary of terms. Any other changes you have?
Where are
for-
these from?
Pardon me?
These are all just written up by us, or are they listed someplace?
Our fearless leader compiled them.
I took different towns, went in and looked at their terms based on what I thought we needed, and I kind of changed them a little bit to meet our needs. So yes, I wrote these up. I don't know if that's good or bad. Tell me if you like them, and then I'll tell you whether I wrote them up.
Well, my immediate reaction is make them 30% less, but somehow, just by eliminating words, but I just want to know where they came from.
They come from other towns and from the Department of Revenue explanations. I even did one that I didn't see on anybody else's, which is structural deficit, which I've had more questions on that one. What I did is I went back and looked at some of the questions we have had, and I took the terms that I could find and did those. People always say, what's chapter 70, what's chapter 90? Cherry sheets gets referred to a lot, and I think that's something we need to put in there.
I'm not quarreling with the list. I just wanted to know where they were from.
I actually think this is a great list to give to new finance committee members as well, just to have at your meeting, so you can just because after a while, we all just start to refer to cherry sheets, and it took me a while to figure out just exactly what that is, so.
So maybe
It's
we'll,
useful.
we'll leave this for the new chairman after we finish it up. Okay, dates to remember, March 27th, that's our joint meeting, that's tomorrow night. Thank you very much, Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you.
I'll see you tomorrow night. Just a joint meeting to discuss Article 6 and 7 of the budget, so is everybody planning on being there? Okay. And then we won't vote on it, even though it says it on our agenda. We'll vote the following week, because that'll give you time to look at it. We had originally planned to have it out it was originally planned to be out earlier, but because of some of the weather concerns and as far as a few last-minute changes, you'll have it tomorrow. April 9th is the last day for the Finance Committee to vote on annual and special town meeting articles. I'd like to get everything I can wrapped up next week, because I know that I'm going on vacation for a couple days, and there's always last-minute things that need to be done, and I don't want those to become a problem. We've done a real good job up to now. What we're probably going to have to do, when did we say we were going to have our pre-town meeting? Let's see.
Claire just stepped out.
We don't need her.
Well, technically, yeah, we do.
Well, I know we do, but town meeting's the what, the 28th?
Yes.
I would like to shoot for the 9th or the 16th to have our pre-town meeting.
Is the attendance as big as the public hearing?
Oh, yeah, it's probably the same size, exponentially larger if one person shows up. Will we have the warrants back by then?
What date are you talking?
What date will you have the warrants back? Then I'll talk a date.
I'll have them back by the 21st. I may have a few on the 18th, but the 21st is when we're doing
Is it too late, the Wednesday before town meeting to do that? 23rd?
It's the only time we have, isn't it?
Yep.
Well, we could do it doesn't have to be a Wednesday night.
No,
We could
it's
do
true.
it on a Saturday, but I'm loath to give up a Saturday in April.
If you're gonna have on the 18th, you'll have a few back?
I should have a few back, maybe 100.
Well, we don't need 100. We just need 10, 12.
And the problem is that week before town meeting is actually April vacation week, so the schools are closed and
The schools are
people who
closed,
can
that's
go. That's,
We can try to wing it. We can have Kelly print one for us, and then we'll go from that. Does that work for everybody?
I can print up a couple.
Because she'll print them up, and then I'll just make copies or whatever, and we'll wing it. But I'd like to have it on either the 9th or the 16th. Well, no, everything comes in on the 9th, doesn't
But
it?
yeah, no, because I won't finish it up till, it won't be ready till the 14th.
All right, so
That's when it
so
goes
let's
to
just plan on having it on the 16th, you think? The
check with
16th?
Claire, because I know she's going away, so.
She's
just
going away
see.
this week, though. She'll be back. We'll check with her, but
Joan,
let's,
that means we have to have our motions ready by then, so.
Not a problem.
Since I already told you I'm a procrastinator, I needed a deadline before I'm going to finish those.
last time we did the motions, we prepared them. I made them into, instead of the large pages, because they're really a pain when you have to flip through them, because we're on the bingo system here. And so you have to flip through them. So what I did is I made them large enough, but I put them in line. So that way you just had to flip the page and look down the line. That's what I did last time.
Okay.
And it worked good. So between you and Mrs. Cattouli, that should be pretty easy. As far as the advice, that's why we're having the pre-town meeting. And a lot of reasons is that between you and Mrs. Donahue, I want you both to be able to read the advice on those. That's why if I was reading it, I would do like you said and just put because, just we said so or something like that, because it's easier for me to read. All right. Any other business? Any other questions on leading up to town meeting? I appreciate, by the way, I don't know that I say this enough, but this is a lot of work, and it's not easy, and I appreciate everything everybody does, including Kelly, because Kelly works really hard to keep up with us and keep up with me, which is even harder than keeping up with us. So we're very thankful to have her, and I'm thankful that everybody is on this committee, because we want to do the best job we can for the voters. It's not about us, it's about what we can do for the voters. So I appreciate everything everybody's doing, and if I don't do a good enough job, vote me off the island quickly. All right, any other business?
Vote on Monday, on Tuesday,
Oh, there's an election next week?
yeah.
Well, we don't discuss politics in here, but if you know somebody on the ballot, you want to vote for them, fine. I need a motion to approve the meeting minutes of March 19th.
I
I
have,
make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of March 19th.
Kelly, there's one minor correction that needs to
Wait,
get
we
made
have
on
a,
them.
we have a discussion. Yes.
On page 3, Mr. Worthen noted how the town is fiscally insolvent. I said services insolvent, but which is,
Chill market.
fiscally insolvent is sort of a...
That's where we're heading, right? That's not
Yeah,
where we're at.
They're both, no, we are. Right now, we're services insolvent. If you don't have a library, you don't have, you know,
Yeah.
Okay, and I had a change.
Should I put
I'm
that
trying to find it.
insolvent in there? Because that's a big word that I don't think everybody, I understand, and I
Yeah.
think everybody on this, but that's, the word insolvent scares a lot of people. So I could probably, well, anyway, we'll get through this. We'll talk about that. That's good, though. Yes, sir.
I have
Oh.
one comment on the
This is not
Tabulation
community
of-
preservation, just take that word out.
finance committee votes.
You were just cutting and pasting.
Yes.
A lot of these are 700 and add up to 7. Who was standing in my place on those votes?
No, there was, Mrs. Jordan was here.
All right, okay.
You can look on the meeting minutes of the, what date are we on?
Bonnie and
Full house
Dawn,
is
so there's
9,
9
right?
of us all together, so
All
as
right,
long
full
as we're
house is
never
9.
more than 9,
Good.
we're okay.
Okay.
Did we approve the minutes, by the way? I'm sorry,
No,
we were
we
discussing them.
haven't. We're still
Okay.
talking about the
All right.
minutes. If you guys would hurry up, we'll approve them. All those, is there any more corrections? Mrs. Smith, Madam Moderator, we were thinking about having our pre-town meeting, or whatever you would like to call it, on the, what day did I say, 16th? Are you back?
Yes,
Okay. Would you like to join us and be part of that?
yes.
What can we put you down for as far as food?
Whatever you want.
I would like to see if we can get some publicity on this, because I'd like to see as many people.
I expect at that point, discussion of the override will be well and circulating, so we might actually draw a crowd.
Well, I think that the thing is, it's the regular discussion I'm more concerned with, not the blog discussion, because, you're right, there'll be enough discussion next week on our committee. It should be pretty interesting on all 3 committees. So, yeah, I think we should see some people, maybe not.
One can only hope.
I know if we have one, that's twice as many as we had now, or more.
Let's move the question on the minutes and get that out
Okay,
of the way.
all those in favor of the meeting minutes of the 19th of March? One, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, all those abstained, you got 5-0-1. Our next meeting is tomorrow at 6:30 in where we're sitting now, only we'll probably be sitting out there because we don't rate the big chairs. And then we'll just have one main discussion, which is the budget articles, 6 and 7. There'll be a presentation. We won't vote. We'll save that for our next meeting because I want you to go home and look it over real good before we make a decision on how we feel about things. All right, any more questions? If not, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Well, you guys are really slow on the
Second.
motion.
Oh, somebody-
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 6-0-0. Hang around for a minute, please.